Yo, what's up? It's C-Chatter here, back with the Week 6 video. Not a power ranking this time because I don't think my power rankings have really changed from last week. Because, as the season moves on, they sort of become more and more set in stone, and less changes happen. So, for right now, I'm not going to really go over them this week. I'm just going to do the sort of recap thing, and I'll give my thoughts, on what I think is going to happen in playoffs in the season, like who I think is going to make playoffs, what I think is going to happen. Because there are really 5 teams in contention for playoffs, and 1 team who still has a hope, a dying chance that maybe they will make playoffs, although I'm highly doubtful. But yeah, so I wanted to go over those things to see what I think happens in playoffs, at least for right now. And of course, I'll just do the standard recap thing that I always do first, though. So, first up, we have Alakazam IQ versus Shady Business. This game was closer than I expected it to be. I definitely thought that Shady Business would be able to pretty much destroy them, especially after, they kind of destroyed Arceus Wish last week, which is a better team than Alakazam IQ. But it was pretty close. You see Robert Panda beating Devin, which was a very unexpected result. And Pikachu Zappy Zap beats Insanity, who had been doing really well before this. I know he beat Owen, and he beat JoJo. So there's that. Other than that, I can't see anything super shocking that happened. But yeah, again, I thought this would be a far more of a, I don't know how to speak. I thought it would be a much bigger blowout, but Shady Business were able to still secure the win. I think they may have lost some momentum just by the fact that it was as close as it was, but I think they still have the momentum that can carry them into playoffs. They face us this week. They have a very good record. Obviously, they've won like 3 or 4 games in a row right now with all their momentum behind them. But they lost a couple earlier in the season. And I think that they go up against us last week, and obviously I think that we will win, but I think we're probably, my team isn't really trying that much because we've basically confirmed there is still a chance, if we get 7-0'd and Yushu and Friends does really well here, and Team NJ does really well here, then we can potentially drop out, but it's very unlikely, even if we get 7-0'd. So I don't think we're really trying that hard this week, so they may win, which I think will only bolster their momentum further. But if they do lose, then that could be pretty rough for the team going into playoffs. Well, if they lose, I don't think they make playoffs. I mean, maybe. I doubt it. So, yeah. That's... let me get back to what I was doing. Yeah, so they won. I don't know why I made that so complicated. Moving on, we have Suckman versus Arceus Wish. My team pulls out another victory. We have won every game since week 1 at this point. Obviously, we lost week 1 to one of the best teams in the league. Obviously, at this point, I'm kind of assuming that Suckman versus Blazing Inferno is going to be the matchup in finals, although you never know what happens. I mean, obviously, Season 2 finals was definitely not the expected matchup. But yeah, we were able to beat RCS Swish no problem, and you know, obviously, like I said, not trying super hard versus Team NJ, but I mean, versus Shady Business next week. But you know, we make playoffs anyway, so I think we should be able to turn on the momentum for playoffs and get some stuff done. However, a couple games in this were cool. Obviously, I played this week. My first play. I'm playing next week as well. And I won 4-0. I swept with Mew. I definitely did not have a hard matchup at all. But I guess it's nice for me to win. That's cool. And then you also had Wolverine beat Cam. Wolverine kind of hacks, but still, Cam the Man was really good player, so it's a kind of surprising result. And other than that, not much that's super shocking. Yeah. RCS Wish has a pretty easy matchup for the last week versus Drunken Spoons. But I don't think Drunken Spoons care really much anymore. But assuming RCS Wish are able to win this one, they have a chance at playoffs still. They're gonna need 2 out of the 3 of Shady Business, NJ, and Yusu and Friends to lose, which isn't impossible because obviously Shady Business and NJ both play against very good teams this week. And if that happens, then there's potential for RCS Wish to have more differential, although RCS Wish differential is not very good, so it would need to be pretty big blowouts, I think. But yeah, so if RCS Wish is able to get higher differential than those teams, they still have a chance of making playoffs, but it's not like super high. You know, I said from the beginning of the season that I didn't think RCS Wish would make playoffs, and I still don't think so. But they definitely have a shot, which is better than I would have expected them to have at the beginning of the season, that's for sure. Anyway, back to this game. We won. I guess that's all I really have to say. And then you have NJ versus Drunken Spoons, another game that was closer than I expected it to be. NJ kind of lost a lot of their momentum in the previous 2 weeks. They lost to Shady Business in week 4, and then in week 5 they lost to us, Suck My Ween. And so it's nice to see them get another win. But in this last week of the season, they face Blazing Infernape, which is going to be a hard matchup. They're going to really need to try and get a W there. If they don't get the W, then I kind of doubt they make playoffs. I mean, it's not like impossible, but they would need the differential in order to do that, and I think they have a lower differential than both Yusu and Friends and Shady Business. So yeah, a very important week for Team NJ, and obviously I think Blazing Infernape is already confirmed, basically. So I kind of doubt that they will try that hard, but I mean, from the looks of it, like, I don't really know, but I think it looks a bit like they will be trying. So this might be rough for NJ, but if they're able to get a victory, then that would be nice. It would be kind of wild if NJ didn't make playoffs after how insane the start to their season was. They, went 3-0 at the beginning, and then after that, lost to Shady Business as they got all their momentum for that week, and then Owen didn't play anymore, and he's struggling with some IRL things right now, and so kind of rough second half of the season for this team, but I'm sure that it was still a fun season for them, and if they make playoffs, then that's great for the team. But it's sort of an if now, which is definitely not what was expected. So yeah. Anyway, here you have Yusu and Friends versus Apocalyptic Pawns. Yusu and Friends, 7-0s, which is kind of wild. Apocalyptic Pawns doesn't care anymore. They did, even Arctic Weavile, which was like their best player, who's been doing the best on their team, lost this week. I don't even think they started Arctic in the last week. If I could find the team. Oh, here, yeah. They did not start him, so kind of rough for the squad there. Pesky obviously has been underperforming, and he FF'd again this week, which I think he has FF'd like 3 times this season or something. Love brought 1 Pokemon versus Cheez-Its, and then he FF'd the game afterwards because Undead said, "Oh, bringing 1 Pokemon isn't fair." And then just other than that, kind of just destroyed them all in all the games. So yeah, I highly doubt Apocalyptic Pawns really even cares anymore. And the other team, Yusu and Friends, is going to benefit greatly from this boost in differential. And Yusu and Friends has sort of snuck up and become one of the bigger contenders for playoffs. I think they've had a pretty easy season. They didn't have to play NJ this season, and they didn't have to play Arceus Wish, Arceus Wish, they probably could have beaten them anyway. But, that leaves them playing against all 4 of the sort of less good teams in the league. And this week they have Big P Nidokings, which is the matchup that they should be able to secure a victory in. But I don't know. Big P Nidokings definitely have a good roster, so it's not 100%. Yeah, I think Yusu and Friends should win there, and that's what sort of makes Yusu and Friends one of the big playoff teams. Even though I think they're probably a worse team than NJ or Shady Business, I have a hard time saying they don't make playoffs right now. Yeah. I highly doubt they make it out of round 1 of playoffs, but we've seen more surprising things happen before, like the finals of season 2. So yeah. Moving on, we have Blazing Infernape versus Big P Nidokings. And Blazing Infernape pull out a W. Obviously, Blazing Infernape currently are ranked as the number 1 team standing wise. I think that Sekmai Wayne is just a better team in general, but that's a debatable claim. But yeah, you see Blazing Infernape just able to pull out another win this week, and they go against NJ next week, as I already talked about that game a bit. And, like I said, very important game for NJ, but not very important for Blazing Infernape, since they've already basically confirmed. So, yeah. And that's about all I have to say for these games. I sort of talked a bit about playoffs while I was doing it. That was the original plan, but it works out. Guess I'll just sort of put my final thoughts in on what I think happens in the last week in playoffs. Alakazam IQ will beat Apocalyptic Pawns. Hooray, and a second win off his MIQ because you have the team that doesn't even care at all anymore. And I think you guys probably still care, so we'll say you guys get the win. Well, I mean, care is in quotation marks. Probably don't care that much, but care more than Apocalyptic Pawns, that's for sure. And here you have a important game for Yusuf and friends. However, they should be able to win this game, no problem. So, yeah. If they do lose, then they probably don't make playoffs. But I think they, like I said, I think they win. And yeah, that was awkward. So yeah, like I said, if they make playoffs, then they lose round one. But well, at least I think they will lose round one. But they have to do that first, and to do that, they have to beat Big P Nido Kings. But that shouldn't be too hard for the team. Obviously, like I said, very good team. Yeah. Anyway, moving down, you have Team NJ versus Blazing Infernape. Like I said, I already talked a lot about this game. Important for NJ, not so important for Blazing Infernapes. But I think Blazing Infernapes are still kind of trying. And like I said, it will be very, very weird if NJ doesn't make the playoffs this season because they did so well in the beginning of the season and they sort of fell off for the second half. And then you have Suckman versus Shady Business. I think that, like I said, my team isn't trying super hard, but in a really important game for Shady Business, so they might be able to win, which, like I said, bolsters their momentum into the next week for playoffs. But if Shady Business does lose, then probably don't make playoffs, so we'll see what happens. And lastly, you have RC Swish versus Drunken Spoons. Very important game for RC Swish. If a couple other teams lose this week and they are able to win and get a good amount of differential back, then they can still make playoffs, but highly, highly unlikely. And I do think they'll win the week, though. So if that matters, then that's that. So that's all I really have to say. Probably a shorter video than usual because I'm not doing the whole PRs part. But you know, I don't really need to do the PRs because they're pretty much the same as last week. So I guess that's all I have to say. I will see you next week, which next week's video will probably be very similar to this one, unless some really weird shit happens in this week. Yeah, bye.